are officially affiliated with the Constitution Party. The Constitution Party, which is a political group, has redone their platform. Their platform is now going to be advocating states' rights and state citizenship. I tried to get several other parties out there to adopt this platform. They all refused. The Constitution Party decided, yes, that's what they're all about. So you have a flyer on your thing there. So I want everybody to start lining up everybody for our Constitution Party. We're going to be start nominating elected officials, hopefully, and we're going to be doing this throughout the nation. Mr. Aaron Russo, he's going to have his own TV show and his own radio talk show talking about the Constitution Party, states' rights, and state citizenship. So it's going throughout the nation. That's my big move for this month. Okay, the next thing is that the Hartford Times out of Hartford, Connecticut has been calling me. They called me about 5 times in the past 2 weeks. They're doing an article on states' rights and state citizenship, and they're using me as a prototype. So I faxed them all the information, faxed them the other newspaper articles, and so we're breaking into big time. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch did a big article on me also in states' rights and state citizenship. So we're moving along greatly in the political front here. So we're going to be nominating some political people who will be running for president and senators. I presume, just a guess, that 25% of the elected officials now will switch over to our party and get behind states' rights and state citizenship. So, in fact, Newt Gingrich said on TV the other day that he's behind states' rights. He wants to make all the states give them back their sovereignty. So that, I think, is just a little lip service, but we'll wait and see what he does on it. As I've done quite a bit of research this month, I have a new book that I've been reading. I just got it the other day. It's called States' Rights to the Law of the Land. And a state cannot have its rights unless it has its own citizens. States cannot be sovereign without its own citizens. This is written by a Supreme Court judge out of Georgia in 1957. I want to read one little paragraph to you so you'll understand what we're talking about. That what we're doing is totally founded in law. This is the Supreme Court judge of Georgia speaking. The people did not declare that the colonies should become converted into a national government known as the capital U, United States of America. When the phrase United States of America was used, the adjective united was spelled with a small u. They declared that the colonies ought to be 13 free and independent separate states. That was the original concept of the American government. And that's what we're going back to. We're going back to being free, sovereign, independent states. And this is a good book written in 1957. I called Harrison Publishers in Georgia who published the book. And they not publishing it anymore. It's not, there's none available. I asked them if I'd like to buy 10 copies of it. They said no. So we're going to be republishing it ourselves, hopefully. You know, we'll get somebody to republish it and put it out and make it available to everybody. But in the meantime, there's a couple copies floating around here if they're available. The next thing I want to tell you about, I mentioned before that I was up to the state of Washington and I did a TV talk show with the presiding judge of Clark County, Washington. This presiding judge is the training judge for all judges who get elected to the bench for the first time. He trains them in law. So I debated him on television on the right to travel versus the privilege to drive. And came out pretty good. Everybody said I won 60-40. Because they use their own laws against them. And that's what's interesting. And that's what we're continually doing, researching the laws and getting more and more interested. We do have several people now throughout the nation working at major corporations without Social Security numbers, which is a big step. A year ago, we couldn't get anybody to work without a Social Security number. Now we've learned how to do it by using the law. The law provides for us to work. But if we don't know what the law is, they won't let you do it. But I have a lot of new information. There's several lawsuits against the federal government right now where they're against the BLM mostly for taking without just compensation. We're claiming the federal government has no authority within each state and union. They got the briefs from my bulletin board. There's landers.zip on my bulletin board you can read, and nye.zip. That explains everything, how the federal government has no authority within the state. They're only there by fiction. They took it. Let me drop back to that other book by the judge, Georgia judge. He states in there equivocally, going back into the founding documents of this nation, there was no implied powers given to the federal government. It was not expressly granted to them. They did not get it. There was nothing implied. If it didn't say specifically they got it, they don't have it. And that's what it says, and this is all book about. And I've got about half done, 2 days. Spent a lot of time reading. Now here's a court site. Everybody should write this one down. I don't particularly care about this one that much, but it's very good information. 24 Texas 394. Courtroom versus the state. COCKRUM versus the state. I'll read you one little paragraph. Most of the Second Amendment people don't know about this paragraph. Same year I was born, 1859. They're talking about the Second Amendment now. The object of the clause, first cited, had reference to the perpetuation of free government and is based upon the idea that the people cannot be effectually oppressed and enslaved who are not first disarmed. The clause cited in our Bill of Rights has the same broad object in relation to the government, and in addition thereto, secures a personal right to the citizen. The right of the citizen to bear arms in lawful defense of himself or the state is absolute. He does not derive it from the state government, but directly from the sovereign convention of the people that framed the state government. It is one of the high powers delegated directly to the citizens and is accepted out of the general powers of the government. (24 Texas 394, 1859). That's for the Second Amendment people. But see, it's the federal government was not given any authority whatsoever, and that's what we're doing. We're teaching sovereign state citizenship. There's one of our people had his automobile pickup truck impounded, not in L.A. County, in a different county, and he's preparing a lawsuit now. It should be filed either yesterday or Monday. So I don't know what he's doing with it. He just called me and told me he's got it almost finished, so it's ready to be filed. Since I like to give good court cases to people, let me get the best one here. I'll go to my pride and joy first. Then I'll come back to the other one. No fact, not even an undisputed fact, may be determined by the judge. No fact, not even an undisputed fact, may be determined by the judge. It's got to be determined by the evidence. And if you understand the evidence code, I've been hollering every month since I've been here. And the cite on this is Roe versus United States. .287, Fed Second, 435. That's 287, Fed Second, 435. Roe versus United States. I got a good one here that we've been working very hard with, and it's U.S. versus Lewis, 833, Fed Second, 1380. That's Ninth Circuit. U.S. versus Lewis, 833, Fed Second, 1380. A judge cannot make conclusions based on his personal knowledge. He cannot use his personal knowledge to render a decision. He has to rule on the evidence before him. See, all judges, you know, when they deny a demur without opposition, then you would turn around and ask them, Your Honor, what is the authority for denying this demur? And he'd say, well, I don't think it has any merit. There he's using his personal knowledge. Your Honor, are you using your personal knowledge to make that decision? He'll say, yes. Thank you very much, Your Honor. And it's a reversible error. You ask the question properly, then bring it out to him. And every police officer who gets up on the stand is biased. We have a court case that says that basically, not in those terms. Bias of a witness may be established by showing witness to be an employee of the other party. That's Charter, C-H-A-R-T-E-R, and I'll have to spell this other name, the Chili Broad, C-H-L-E-B-O-R-A-D. C-H-L-E-B-O-R-A-D, 551, Fed Second, 246. So, officer, do you work for the state of California? That's correct. I work for the county of Los Angeles, county of whatever county, you know. Thank you, Your Honor. Is the county a part of the state? Yes, it is. Therefore, the state is prosecuting me, so you're an agent of the state, correct? He said, that's correct. You're enforcing state law? Yes, I am. So you're an agent of the state, therefore you're biased. I request the officer's testimony to be completely stricken. You know how to do it, you know what I mean? That's an old court case, 1977. And well, everybody write the cite down, then I'm going to tell you how to use this one. This is a good one. U.S. versus Russo, R-U-S-S-O. 480 Fed 2nd, 1228. 480 Fed 2nd, 1228. Computer printouts are admissible once reliability and trustworthiness of information put into the computer have been established. You have a DMV printout there? Yes, I do. I have an affidavit before the court that says that printout is in error. You know what I mean? It conflicts. So you can't bring the DMV printout in. They can't enter the DMV record. He'll say, well, I'm going to enter the DMV record. Your Honor, that's hearsay. It's contested. You know what I mean? Where is the computer, the key punch operator who put that information in the computer? I want her to come say that she verified all these facts that was put into the computer. She's not there. She's up in Sacramento. So therefore, without the key punch operator there to put the information into the computer, they can't bring the computer printout in. That's out of the evidence code. I keep telling people to read the evidence code. If you understand the evidence code, I've been reading it since March of last year. I still don't understand it, but I'm learning. I read it over time and time and time again. And here's a California court case you might like. Remember we were talking about the biased police officer? Once bias is admitted by a witness, he may not be rehabilitated. In other words, he can't be corrected and say I'm not. You can't use his testimony. As People versus Pierce, 269, CA 2nd, 193. 269 CA 2nd, 193. P-I-E-R-C-E. Let's put a little humor in. Everybody's got a big frown on their face here. Alan, where are you? Alan Bird's got the next rendition of his win that he had. He was in court the other day. And he made an appearance for a settled statement hearing. And I think it's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
As I mentioned before, I got convicted on one thing among the other 4 items, or 5 items that we were charged with, and so I'm appealing that one. I had to appear in court on Friday, and on Thursday I came down with laryngitis and couldn't talk. So I go to court anyway, and the judge comes in, calls my case, and Mr. Bird, are you here? And I stand up and I go, he goes, your ears work, don't they? And I go, yeah, they work. You know, I shake my head, yeah. He says, okay, have a seat. I've called the DA's office up. I've told them to send their representative over here. As soon as he comes in, we'll get you started. So I sit down and have my seat. 5 or 10 minutes later, the DA comes back. This is the same judge who had the trial. We're in the same courtroom, and it's the same district attorney. And there's some double doors in the back. It's a fairly small courtroom. He comes busting through the door with a real scowl on his face. He's really mad. Walks in and sits down. And the judge was explaining to some other people that were there for tickets how the trial was going to go and what to expect. And then he stops when he walks in and sits down. He looks over at him and he goes, who are you? And he knows who the guy is. And he goes, you from the DA's office? And the guy goes, yes, I am, Your Honor. He's really angry here. I think he got mad because he was being required to attend. He goes, and so I'm coming forward. I'm setting my stuff down while this is going on. And the judge goes, don't bother. This will only take a minute, Mr. Bird. You can stay standing. I said, okay. Now, I've received, this is the judge talking here, I've received your proposed settled statement, and I've read through it. I think it's an accurate record of what happened and took place. I think it's been well prepared. I've received your transcript. It too is accurate and well prepared. I'm very pleased with it. Looks over at the district attorney and says, you don't have any problem with this, do you? The DA, no, Your Honor. And he says, so I propose that we save the county a few cents, not require them to mail off a bunch of copies to all the parties that are involved, and get on with it, and that'll be it. And so he stands up and starts to storm out the room. He's madder now. Judge goes, Mr. Byrd, and I stop. And me and the DA are standing side by side in the aisle, ready to walk out, and I'm turning around. He goes, next time you're in my courtroom, I don't want you raising your voice at me again, and you're going to have the proper demeanor while you're before this court. And I go, walk out. DA was very, very mad.
Mind you, he had laryngitis, he couldn't talk. He never said a word. See, the judges are our friends. You may not think so, but if you go in there with the right arguments, the correct arguments, and know what you're doing, and understand the law, and know how to conduct yourself properly, every one of these judges are our friends. But if you go in there dealing in emotion and not the law, remember I've said many, many times, there's only two places for emotion. One's in the bedroom, the other's in the bathroom, not in the courtroom. If you're in the courtroom, you have to conduct yourself properly. You don't deal in emotions. You tell the truth. You handle the law correctly. You do everything just the way it's supposed to. And you're going to come out a winner. You may lose at the trial level, but when you get up on appeal, if you've done everything properly at the lower level, everything is going to be carried forward at that time. That's why I try to teach you the law, the same way with citizenship. Right now there's, I think I've been written up 5 times. I have heard, I haven't seen it yet, the LA Daily Journal, which is a newspaper that goes out to all the attorneys. They have an article on me also. I haven't read it yet. I don't even know the date. I've been trying to get a copy of it, but hopefully one of these days I'll get a copy. I'll send somebody down to the law library to get me a copy of it. But the prime thing, you go in there, the court, and you conduct yourself as a citizen. You are the sovereign. The court is your servant. And if you know how to make him be a servant, rather than you be the slave, you follow me? He's going to go along with you. He's going to have fun with you. He's going to laugh with you. And the whole audience I prefer, because he's up there performing, you call that the courtroom, that's the audience. And he's going to have a good time with you. The next guy comes along, he's going to double his fine. Because he don't know any different. But you, he's going to do everything in the world to work with you. Remember, you must use the law correctly. If you understand the law, and that's what I do basically. That's what I've been working with the Constitutional Party. We're making states' rights all over the nation. Oh, speaking of states' rights, I got the call this evening about 4 o'clock. Yesterday, the state of Pennsylvania passed their 10th Amendment resolution. It's been in the hopper since November 28th. So their 10th Amendment resolution telling the federal government to get out of Pennsylvania. So a lot of the states are doing it now. I think there's about 9 or 10 states that passed it. Texas should be coming up before the end of the month. I will be down in Texas in 2 weeks speaking before a large group there, about 300 people, on states' rights and on the 10th Amendment resolution there. So we're pushing very, very hard on this 10th Amendment. We're going to make Washington, D.C. go back to Washington, D.C. where it belongs. Put the federal government back in the District of Columbia. And you heard what one of the Congress, I don't know who said, he says, maybe we should give back Washington, D.C. to Maryland. Maryland don't want them. Too much crime. Yeah, the District of Criminals, they have to execute everybody. Put everybody, just create one giant prison. You build a fence around it, correct. Yeah, but the nation right now as a whole is looking to states' rights to solve the problem. And how can we solve the problem? By becoming citizens and standing up and exercising our rights. Always in any skirmish, there's going to be a few bloody noses. The first soldiers into the battle are going to get their nose bloody. They're going to have a hard road. They got to climb up the hill, you know, and break the trail. And everybody else comes along, just lollygags up the hill. You know what I mean? I always like to be in the second wave. It's a lot easier than the first wave. But in this fight, I'm in the first wave. I'm out there doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's educating people. And I live the life I teach you. So once you understand that, you have to live your life the way you feel. You feel in your heart. If you feel free, you must live free. You can't live as a slave. And that states' rights book by the Supreme Court judge talks all about how the 14th Amendment is wrong, how they misused it deliberately, how President Roosevelt stacked the Supreme Court, and it was all states' rights up until the New Deal came in. And President Roosevelt stacked the Supreme Court, and the court started going to the left, further and further and further. That pendulum started going way to the left. Now it's starting to come back. It takes about 200 years to go one way, then back, and another 200 years to go up here. Because no democracy has ever survived more than 200 years. They've all fallen. So we as state citizens, we have a lot of fun doing what we're doing. Let me go back to the beginning now. I got the good stuff out. Here's a court case, same year I was born. This clause does not refer to citizens of this state. It only embraces citizens of the United States. It leaves out the word citizen of a state, which are so carefully used, and in contradistinction to citizens of the United States in the preceding sentence. It places the privileges and immunities of the citizens of the United States under the protection of the Constitution, and leaves the privileges and immunities of citizens of the state under protection of the state constitution. That's Corey versus Carter. C-O-R-Y versus Carter. 48 Indiana, 349. See, then here's another one. Addison versus Addison. This is a California case. 62C second 558. 62C second 558. I'm talking about the 14th Amendment now. It says privileges and immunities protected by this clause are only those that belong to citizens of the United States as distinguished from citizens of states, and arise from Constitution and laws of the United States as contrasted with those who spring from other sources. They wouldn't talk about the state constitution there. They didn't want people to know about it. But see, that was in 1965. California Supreme Court recognized that state citizens existed. A lot of people saying out there that state citizens don't exist. Well, I have to beg differ with them. They do. Unless I don't exist myself, I'm a figment of my own imagination. See, when you go into court, you always tell the judge right up front, you know what I mean? Your Honor, you can't use your personal knowledge or your bias. Are you biased against me? Are you this? Are you that? You know what I mean? You have to ask, you know what I mean? He will say no. Then you can come back at him at a later date. You always set them up. You push them over to the edge of the table, and then wait till he falls off. It's error for a judge to contradict witness or defendant. Tyler versus Swenson, Swenson. 427, Fed Second, 812. That's 427, Fed Second, 812. And here's a better one I even like. Terrell, Terrell versus U.S. 6 Fed Second, 498. I shepherdized all these old court cases, and they're all still valid. That's 6 Fed Second, 498. That's a 1925 court case. Conviction reversed when trial judge said he was sure the defendant had violated the law and was lying. So he has to rule on the evidence. If you bring it up to him and make him hold to the evidence. If there's no evidence before him, he can only rule on what's before him. But you have to be able to bring that evidence up. Now here's one for one of our appeal court cases. I don't know. To punish a person because he has done what the law plainly allows him to do is a due process violation of the most basic sort. The law allows a citizen to travel. That's U.S. versus Goodwin. Goodwin, 457 U.S. 368. 457 U.S. 368. Now here's another one. Listen to the terminology very, very closely on what the court said. Regulations that compel property owner to endure physical invasion of his property constitute a taking under the Fifth Amendment. Regulations that compel property owner to endure physical invasion of his property constitute a taking under the Fifth Amendment. When that officer looks into your car, that's a taking. I don't know. Probably. I'll have to spell this, okay? It's Clayjon, C-L-A-J-O-N, Production Corporation, C-L-A-J-O-N, Production, versus Petera, P-E-T-E-R-A. P-E-T-E-R-A. 854, Fed Sup, 843. This is a real old court case, 1994. Fed Sup, 843. That's a 1994 court case. And you always, before I read this side, I'll tell you a little situation. A lady called me from North Carolina. And she just beat her traffic ticket. The judge threw the cop out of the courtroom. Disqualified the courtroom, the cop. So you ask the police officer, "Officer, how long have you been on the department?" "Oh, 15 years. So you're an expert in enforcing the laws, are you not? Are you classified as an expert for..." "Yes, I am." "Thank you. Officer, would you give me the definition of motor vehicle?" "Objection." Prosecution always says, "Objection. Your Honor, The officer testified that he was an expert, so I'm only qualifying him as an expertise. His expertise in the law, and if I can't qualify him, he has to be dismissed from the witness stand. He said, officer, you may leave. So they dismissed all charges. They didn't find her not guilty, they dismissed all charges. It was the same thing happened to Tucson 3 weeks ago. A lady downloaded my file, where.zip. That's where, W-H-E-R-E.zip from bulletin board. That's for everybody to get. I give that as my Christmas present to everybody. And she used that and won her traffic case in Tucson. So people are downloading my information and using it. This is what's important, to educate the people in the law. And that's what I'm trying to do. I have the absolute right to educate you in the law so you will understand it. If you don't understand it, I can't help you. Now I'll go to... Court should assure itself before admitting expert testimony that expert knows whereof he speaks. So if you don't understand the law, you know what I mean? The meaning of the law, he's not an expert. That's Bammerlin, B-A-M-M-E-R-L-I-N, versus Navistar, N-A-V-I-S-T-A-R, 30 Fed 3rd, 898. 30 Fed 3rd, 898. Real old, 1994. I think this was September 1994. Then here's another good one I like. I haven't used this yet. I haven't figured out how to use it yet. But it's there, and I'll let some of these people out here in the audience who are much smarter than I am utilize it. Attorneys representing the government cannot act as prosecutor and witness. How would I use that? District attorney, he signs a complaint as a witness, so therefore he can't prosecute me. U.S. versus Brothers, 856, Fed Sup 388. U.S. versus Brothers, 856, Fed Sup 388. This is a little older case, 1993. So those of you who do become a citizen and you tell your company to get rid of your Social Security number, then they fire you. Now listen what the court said. Retaliation for filing lawsuit is prohibited by the First Amendment, protection of free speech, not some concept of independent right of access to courts. So if they fire you because you don't have a Social Security number, there's your whole case right there on that one side. This is Zorzi, Z-O-R-Z-I, versus County. 30 Fed 3rd, 885. 30 Fed 3rd, 885, 1994. This is one of the sites that we didn't use in Ellen's case, because I just dug this one out after his case, but it's on the board for everybody to get. When motion to dismiss challenges personal jurisdiction, plaintiff must make prima facie case on the issue. They must prove that you're a U.S. citizen and a person. The judge cannot use his personal knowledge to say you're a person. I'm declaring you're a person without any evidence before him. He's using his personal knowledge. Yeah. Yes, he kept trying to call me a person, you know. And I beat him on that one. It's Paterno, Paternostro, Paternostro versus Dow. 848 Fed Sup 706, 1994. Paternostro. You don't need the names correctly as long as you got the book and the page number. You know what I mean? 848 Fed Sup 706. I only got about 300 sites here. I'm not giving everything. See, so when you try to submit evidence into court, like your affidavit of truth, your oath of allegiance, and your declaration of citizenship in the court, and the judge refuses to accept it in the court, listen what the court says. The exclusion of evidence in criminal trial that would raise a reasonable doubt as defendant guilt is plain error. U.S. versus Robinson, 544, Fed Second 110. Reversible error to exclude testimony that would have indicated person shown on bank film was person other than defendant. So, hey, if they claim you're a person, you know what I mean, and you've got evidence to establish, like your affidavit, they have to come up with an affidavit to refute your affidavit. Somebody has to take the witness stand and swear under penalty of perjury you're a U.S. citizen. Five, 4, Fed Second, 110. I don't know how to close it. Here's another good one. When judge, this is Rule 605 of the Federal Rules of Evidence. When a judge engages in ex parte or solo off-the-record fact-gathering, he essentially becomes a witness in the case in contravention of Rule 605, and such action improperly deprives the parties of their right to challenge the conclusions reached. So when the district attorney, or prosecuting attorney, maybe city attorney or U.S. attorney, whatever, gets up and talks to the judge without you being present, he's violated your right to challenge those conclusions. Yeah, but this is the United States Supreme Court. It's Lilly, Lillie versus U.S. 953 Fed Second 1188. 953 Fed Second 1188. Now here's one I don't think nobody in this room is going to like. I won't even give you the site. I'll be nasty. A statutory privilege cannot override a defendant's constitutional right. However, the judiciary has a solemn obligation to ensure that the constitutional right of an accused to a fair trial is realized. If that right would be thwarted by enforcement of a statute, the state must yield. So the Vehicle Code Goes in contravention of my right to travel, you follow me? So the state must yield. That's Vela, V-E-L-A, versus Superior Court. 208, Calap 3rd, 141. 208, Calap 3rd, 141. How you use that? Your Honor, the statute says this, I claim this. This is, the statute goes against the Constitution because those powers were not given to the state government by this Constitution. It's powers implied, and there was no implied powers given to the government. And you have to address it that way. You have to do some briefing and do some good argument on it. Now we'll get a little humorous, few humorous sites. Some people don't know. The Federal Reserve is privately owned. Who controls our money? The Federal Reserve. So, the Federal Reserve, it's the greenbacks. That's what you're using in lieu of money. This is Lewis versus U.S. 680 Fed 2nd 1239. 680 Fed 2nd 1239. Yep, in 1982. But you understand, the federal government, we need the federal government. I do not want to abolish the federal government. The federal government is necessary for us. But in order for it to be necessary for us, it must do a proper function. It cannot do what it was not entitled to do under the Constitution. My 9 judges in New York, how many people are new here don't know about my 9 judges? How many know? Well, about half the people in the room knew. Anyway, I have 9 judges in the state of New York who are busy studying citizenship. They're very interested in it. They're watching my videos, and they're very pleased with what we're doing. They don't want to come out of the closet yet because they're still learning. I've talked to one of them. He represents all 9. And they're very pleased with what's happening. As soon as it gets more where they won't get slam dunked off the bench, you know what I mean? They're going to be jumping on the bandwagon. So we will have support from 9 judges in the state of New York. I'm not saying. They want to remain in the closet, like the federal government should do, remain in the closet. All right. 1982. The federal government, the Federal Reserve is a privately owned. Now okay, I want to tell you about our Washington initiative now. We'll get away from sites for a few minutes. Everybody's getting dry face, so we'll get a little smiles on the face. We have our Washington initiative. This is the final draft that's at the Secretary of State in Washington, state of Washington. It is going to be we'll hit in the streets either Tuesday or Wednesday. We made some changes. The last change I told them to make was this initiative measure. Once it's passed, the courts cannot rule it unconstitutional. It is taking outside of all court judicial decisions. They cannot render it because it's an act of the people in lieu of the Constitution. I'm going. Well, I'm just gonna give you a... No, I just got one copy. I'm gonna have it on my bulletin board. He's mailing me a disc down, so it'll be on the bulletin board. Okay? What it is that no business can discriminate against anybody for not having a social security number. No bank can discriminate against you. No workplace, no apartment rental. Nobody in the state of Washington can discriminate against you for not having a social security number. And it also states that every elected and appointed official, every government worker cannot have a social security number. They must hold their allegiance to the state of Washington and not to Washington, D.C. They cannot be subject to audit and control by Washington, D.C. So if the federal government cannot audit and control them through their social security number, nobody in the state of Washington will have to pay income tax. That's the first state we're pushing it in. I have a large contingency up there that I'm working with, and I have a lot of people. We have a little bit of funding, and we got about 5,000 people ready to hit the bricks as soon as we get the number on this issue here, which should be either Monday or Tuesday, and we're going to be faxing the ballots around, the initiative ballots around, and it's going to be hitting the streets. We're hitting the newspapers, we're hitting the magazines, and everything else up there. It's going to make a big agenda. Because as soon as this initiative passes, every company in business in the state of Washington has a 30% increase automatically in profits. They don't have to have 25 people handling additional payroll and keeping extra records. So the corporation's got to pay their taxes, but they don't have to pay personal taxes. Corporations are going to still have to pay their taxes. That's a legitimate tax. There are some legitimate taxes. There are some taxes that shouldn't be there, but we volunteered into it when we got our Social Security number. Yes? They would have to pay taxes too, because they're still under the federal government. Right. Right. So the law will be changed. The federal government's going to come totally unglued when this hits the ballot. You have never heard the flack that is going to happen if we get this initiative on the ballot. We have to get 187,000 signatures by July 6th. This is the state of Washington. And we're shooting for 1 million signatures. We got 5,000 people to be working the bricks up there. So we're going to shoot for 1 million signatures, which is going to be a mandate to the state and federal government. In fact, the Deputy Attorney General up there says, if this measure gets on the ballot, he says, I'm going to become a citizen.
We got one more citizen up there.
But you see what we're doing. We're extremely political active. We're doing a similar type initiative here in California. It won't be this large. This is changing all the laws in the state of Washington. We're revising all the statutes. We're kicking out all the revised statutes of Washington and revising them. Everybody will have their property in allodium. We're restoring allodial rights to property back up there. We are doing a whole bunch of things. So it's taken us a long time. We tried to get it on the ballot last time, but we didn't have enough time. We only had 3 weeks to get the signatures, and we fell short on the signatures. But see, now we've got almost 5 months to get it. So I know we're going to make it. We shoot for 1 million signatures. I know we only need 187,000 signatures, so we can make it. If we got 1 million signatures, it's going to be a mandate. And you have never heard the flag. You think World War IV has started once this hits the measure. All the TV, all the government's going to pull out all stops to talk about this measure. We better not get this on the ballot. It's going to take away your Social Security and old age. Who cares? But this is what they're going to be talking about. We can't give you any federal funding. Well, of course you can't give us any federal funding. You can't take any from us either. If you can't take it from us, you can't give it to us. So everything will remain in the state. You have never heard the arguments. I'm already getting feedback from some government officials up in the state of Washington now on this measure, you know what I mean? But it's going. Like I said, I'm not such a bad guy. I'm a little cantankerous at times. No. The worst threat I had, some young lady told me she was going to marry me. That's the I told her she was too young for me. She was 5. That's the worst threat I had. But as soon as the right girl asks me, I will get married. Then I'll be nice and sweet again. Also, I have here a brief from the Eureka County District Attorney in Nevada. They are taking all BLM land away from the federal government. I haven't typed this into the computer yet. I haven't had time to hardly work on my computer. The Nevada Public Lands and Equal Footing Doctrine. I have Nye County and Landers County, but I don't have this one on there yet. But you see what we're doing. I'm working with these people all over the nation to do it. Senator Duke from Colorado is inquiring now. He's more interested because when I was in last month, I went to, let me back up so you understand where I'm coming from, what kind of cantankerous guy I am. Anyway, I went to the Sovereign Summit in Phoenix, Arizona. Sovereign Summit. And Senator Duke there and Senator Dan Meyer, and there's a whole bunch of elected officials there, you know, retired judge from Goodlaw, Supreme Court Justice Goodlaw from the state of Washington was there. So I'm sitting up on the panel up there, and Justice Goodlaw is sitting over there. So I get up and do my little spiel like I usually do, and I start talking about the difference between state constitution and federal constitution. That the federal constitution only applies to the federal government, it doesn't apply to the states. And I says those people that hold on to the federal constitution, they've got to be good U.S. citizens. You've got to be a state citizen in order to be sovereign. And if the state wants to be sovereign, it has to enforce the state constitution upon the government, the state government, and enforce the federal constitution upon the federal government. So we went on through this spiel like this, and I stepped on a few toes, you know what I mean? Anyway, Senator Duke got a little bit upset with me because he's so proud of the Constitution. I said it's dirt under my feet. It don't apply to me. So then I turned around to even rub a little salt in the wounds. I turned around to Supreme Court Justice Goodlaw sitting there, and I says, Your Honor, am I correct in my interpretation of the Constitution? He says, the documents you show me, I cannot refute. So now he's interested in state citizenship. Before he was states' rights, but now he's starting to understand a state cannot be sovereign without its own citizens. You must remember, it's got to have its own state citizens. Every state. Germany has its citizens. France has its citizens. North Carolina used to have its citizens. New York used to have its citizens. California had its own citizens. Now, after 1940, they don't anymore. Now we're going to get them back. We're going to get back to being state citizens. That's what it's all about. I got so much stuff here I want to talk about, I don't know which way to start. Also, I have another friend of mine, I don't see him here tonight, but they will be filing a default against the federal government. They sent them a default letter into the federal government. And the government didn't answer. You know how you send a letter to government, they ignore you, you big nothing. Yeah, forget you. So then they sent him a notice of default. Then he took the notice of default down to federal court and recorded it. Now he's typing the paperwork. He's been doing it for about 3 weeks now. Typing the paperwork so he can go in there and then have the judge issue a default order on them that he doesn't work for the federal government and that he does not live in a fictional state. That's all he's saying. Now that once that issue goes into the court, he goes for a notice of default and have the judge issue a default. And once the default comes out, he waits 30 days, notifies everybody, then he goes back and asks for summary judgment against the government and asks for $5 million. Then they're going to come screaming. You think an atomic bomb will get to Santa Ana Federal Courthouse? Pardon? That's a good round figure. I like $5 million. Because they defaulted. They didn't pay attention to him. Of course, the government will never give them $5 million, but it's going to make them sit up and open their eyes. As soon as the judge's order comes out with, pay this man $5 million, you know what I mean? They're going to turn around and say, huh? What happened? Well, you fell asleep at the wheel. So that'll be very shortly, you know what I mean?
I'd like to see him get it.
But that's what we're working on right now. That's another one we're working on. I'm only the guiding hand. They call me and I say, go down to court and get this document, and go research and dig out that document till you find what you're looking for and do one just like it. Yeah, I'm only the instructor. They have to do it all on their own. I'll teach you how to do it. My service centers will teach you to do it, and we'll work you to be citizens. Right now we have a young lady working at the Great Western Bank without a Social Security number. And you know how hard it is to work in the camp of the enemy? And took her about 3 weeks to get the job there. They keep saying you couldn't do it, you couldn't do it. Yes, you can, yes, you can. You know what I mean? So she's working there now without it. We also have a guy working in Phoenix, Arizona, at one of the largest food processing, food distributors in Phoenix, Arizona, without a Social Security number. And nothing's been taken out of his paycheck. He gets 100% of his paycheck. So it's possible, you know what I mean? But you just have to stand up and fight for it. There's nothing easy. Everything you do is going to be hard. There's no such thing as a magic bullet. If anybody's got a magic bullet, I want them to tell me about it, because I want to get down and kiss his feet. If it's a girl, I'll marry her. I don't care whether she's 6 or 60, or the same age as me, 79. I could care less. But it's very, very important that you understand there is no magic bullet. It's a rough road. We're in the first wave going through. Hopefully, with the Constitution Party adopting states' rights and state citizenship as their party platform, I will be affiliated with them. I've already signed up with them right now, and I'll be one as an associate on the directories. Bill Cooper, a lot of people know Bill Cooper. He's the number 2 man. Aaron Russo is the head of the program. I'm just a flunky, and I like being a flunky. I don't count. But remember, we are all in it together. I can't do it by myself. It takes everyone in this room to get started. Once we have everyone in this room doing it, then we can go on to the next issue. And we get more people, then more people. And it's going to grow by leaps and bounds. Right now, how many people here heard of the Constitution Party before today? Just a few. Imagine next year when it's all over the nation and we have our own people running for president. We'll be getting big funding through the Constitution Party, and it's going to be growing by leaps and bounds. So I feel very proud to be able to say that we are part of a good, organized political movement to restore states' rights and state citizenship. A lot of people say, bah, bah, bah. You know what I mean? I could care less. Just study the law and know what we're about. We're about regaining our rights and putting the reins back on government. You know what I mean? Worse than that, just putting them down. Give you a prime example. 5 years ago, Ventura had, I'd say maybe 10 code enforcement officers. Right now they got about 75. And that's all they are out there doing is harassing the people trying to make more money. You know what I mean? Your house is not right. You changed the light bulb. You didn't pay your fee for permission to change the light bulb. I mean, it's getting so ridiculous. You know what I mean? I live in Vancouver County. I know. You know what I mean? And we have more law enforcement officers on a daily basis becoming aware of us. They're becoming very interested. And as you see back there, Sheriff Mack's going to be here, I think next week it is. And I met with him 2 or 3 times now. And he's all for state citizen. He's going to become a citizen of Arizona. He says, I'll become a citizen as long as it don't jeopardize my position. I said, Sheriff, remember one thing. In order to be a proper sheriff, you must be a citizen. You can't be an alien. I told him that when I was in the last seminar. So let's take a break for a few minutes and cool this room off here a little bit. We've got to open some doors. It's getting warm up here, the lights. And we'll take a break for about 10, 15 minutes. Let everybody go to the restroom, get some water, coffee, whatever. And if you want some of my videotapes of me and the judge, it's over there on the right-hand side over there. Oklahoma House Resolution 1047. Just a couple people. Oklahoma passed a resolution. I want you people to listen very, very closely. We're attempting to pass this in 21 states right now. This is on the agenda in 21 states. Hold it back down there. Okay, everybody hold your voice down. A resolution relating to the United States military forces and United Nations, memorializing Congress to cease certain activities concerning the United States and directing distribution. Whereas President Clinton has affirmed that his foreign policy regarding the deployment of United States military forces under authority of the United States would bear little change from his predecessor. Whereas the constitutional role of the United States military is to protect the life, liberty, and property of the United States citizens and to defend our nation against insurrection or foreign invasion. Whereas the United States is an independent sovereign nation, not a tributary of the United Nations. Whereas there's no popular support for the establishment of a new world order or world sovereignty of any kind, either under the United Nations, under any world body, or in any form of global government. And whereas global government would mean the destruction of our Constitution and the corruption of the spirit of the Declaration of Independence, our freedom, and our way of life. Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the second session of the 44th Oklahoma Legislature that the United States Congress hereby memorialize to cease the appropriation of the United States funds for military activity not authorized by Congress. Cease the engagement in any military activity under authority of the United Nations, or any world body. Cease the rendering of any aid to any activity or engagement under the jurisdiction of the United Nations or any world body. And 4, cease any support to the establishment of a new world order or any form of world government. That the United States Congress is hereby memorialized, and he talked today, to refrain from taking any further steps towards the economic or political merger of the United States into a world body or any form of world government. That copies of this resolution be distributed to the Clerk of the House of Representatives, Secretary of the United States Senate, and to each member of the Oklahoma Congressional Delegation. Adopted 28th of March, 1994. So, there's a lot of legislatures understanding about this new world order. This one world totalitarian. You still can't get it out. Tongue-tied today.
Just say Joel and Gingrich.
Yeah.
And Clinton.
The one world Clinton government. I can say that one. See, there's a lot of people understanding what's happening. Hold it down on the side over there. A lot of people are understanding what's going on. And the more and more people, right now we've got this same type of resolution in 21 states. We're trying to get the California legislature pass a similar one. California is going to be passing a similar one to Colorado's measure, stating taking all monies to go to the federal government, go to the state treasury first. And if the federal government's a good boy, they'll give them whatever they feel like. This law is already passed in Colorado. So it's just a matter of time before the federal government's going to be losing us. And I have a surprise announcement for everybody. Next month, our number one enemy is coming here to speak. My number one enemy, Jeff Thayer, my good buddy. Jeff Thayer, my good friend, is coming here. He called me today and said he'd be in next month to attend my monthly meeting. He says he can't stay away. I come up with too much new information, and he says he can't stand it. So he said he'd be here at my next monthly meeting. So he'll be here speaking about township and what he's doing. He's opening up a new office now in Austin, Texas. So he's got one in Santa Fe and one in Austin, Texas now. So he's branching out, and he wants me to do in May, he wants me to go to Virginia and do a 4-day seminar with him on states' rights and state citizenship. So I'll be going up to Virginia to do one. But you see how it's growing? If somebody would have told me this 5 years ago, I told them they're the biggest liar God ever created. You know what I mean? 5 years ago, I didn't think I was going to be up here this politically active as I am now. And we're legally correct. A lot of people don't think so, especially those in the government. They treasure their jobs.
Treasure our treasure.
No, they treasure their jobs. Every bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. wants to build their own little kingdom for himself. You know what I mean? He needs, rather than have 15 people, he wants 500 people working for him. He wants the power. You know, it's a power struggle. And we want to take that power away from the government and put it back in the hands of the people. Let the people dictate to the government what they can do and what they can't do. But the only way you can do it is by asserting our state citizenship. One of the gentlemen asked me during the break about different groups out here on the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, I'm for the crime bill. I said, I hope to take all guns away from all U.S. citizens. I don't think any slave should have one. Only the sovereign citizen can have one. He says, what do you mean? I said, have you ever read Twining versus New Jersey? The Second Amendment does not apply to U.S. citizens. The U.S. citizen has very little privileges. One of them, they have the right to petition Congress. They have the right to travel under interstate commerce clause out of Washington, D.C. And their passport is a Social Security number. And they have I think there's only 3 or 4 rights they have. 5 of them, not very many. And none of the Bill of Rights apply to them. They were not given to them. They have the right to worship, you know what I mean? They have some of the First Amendment rights, not all of them. Yeah, I said the interstate commerce clause. Yes, in Twining versus New Jersey. 211 U.S. something. If you go to book 211 in the U.S. and you'll go to the index and look up Twining versus New Jersey, and you'll see it right there. It says there specifically, a U.S. citizen is dirt. That's basically what it says. A U.S. citizen has no rights. They're not entitled to anything. The only thing the U.S. citizen gets is what Congress wants to give them. And Congress can regulate it. They don't have the Fifth Amendment right. Yeah. They have the right to complain, but that doesn't have to do anything about it. They do have the right to complain, you know. But that's one of the things that we must understand. Once you understand and research the law, let me give you my BBS number, because a lot of people ask me that. I run a bulletin board, and it's free to everybody. And the phone number is area code 818-888-9882. That's a free BBS. And when you log on the first time, it'll ask your first name, your last name. It says password. Just create your own password, any name you want. You can use any phony name you want. You just see some of the names, like I got XXYY, you know what I mean? I could care less. I don't care who. I hope all government downloads everything off my bulletin board, so it might educate them. Repeating the phone number, area code 818-888-9882. That's a free BBS that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except when the power goes out. And every once in a while the power goes out. That's my bulletin board number. And every Sunday, yes. Okay. And every Sunday I have a free seminar at my house. And let me give you the telephone number. It's area code 818-703-5037. That's 818-703-5037. If you call me after 9 o'clock on Sunday, I'll give you directions to my house. I have to give you farmer's directions. You go to the first bale of hay, to the white garbage truck, and I live right off the main road, but you can't find me. You can't see me. So if you call me, I'll give you directions on how to get there. And this seminar goes for 3 hours. It starts at 12 noon and goes till 3 o'clock. I'll show you a few videotapes that we've done on television. Then I'll give you 42 laws and explain them to you, so you will understand. You'll understand the law. They're totally free to you. Doesn't cost you anything. Plus I give you free sodas. On warm days I get free sodas. On cold days I get free sodas. Right. Yes. Well, see, you were born a state citizen, but you elected to enter into U.S. citizenship when you got your Social Security number. They didn't disclose it to me either. Yeah, but try it sometime against the government. I tried suing the federal government. Let me explain what happened. I took a vacation. Those people don't understand it. Anyway, I sued in 1986. I sued the federal government. I sued Dorcas Hardy, she was Social Security, Edwin Meese, he was the Attorney General, and the Federal Reserve Bank for Grand Theft Citizenship. Anyway, when I went to court, the judge said, yes, I did have a valid complaint, but I didn't put it together properly. So he wrote a minute order up for me, very nice, explaining how to write a complaint. I was dumb, I didn't know anything. So I went home and redid the complaint. I came back, that was in January, he gave me the order. So I'd have to come back in March. In February, see, the first time in court, the judge was very friendly, nice, and joking and laughing. He said, yes, I did have a valid complaint, I was right, et cetera, et cetera. This is a federal judge downtown. So in February, the Internal Revenue Service went to grand jury and got an indictment on me for 3 counts of willful failure to take money from the government. Yeah. I refused to sign my income tax return to get my refund. I'm the only guy in the whole nation that ever gone to jail because I wouldn't take a refund. But see, then when I came back into court later, I think it was April, there was 35 attorneys from the Federal Reserve Bank sitting over there. And the judge wouldn't even look at me, and he was, Mr. McDonald, I'm dismissing your complaint. Bye. Out of the courtroom. The IRS come up and arrested me there in the courtroom. But they put pressure on me. You know, I can understand, I can relate. I have no problem with that. But I made a mistake. You don't sue the Federal Reserve Bank. If I only had sued Social Security, I would have been home free. If I'd sued the Attorney General, I'd have been home free. But you don't sue the Federal Reserve Bank. Yeah, but I don't have enough lifetimes to spend a year in jail every time they turn around. So anyway, they went ahead and convicted me, and I was a little bit pregnant. You know, I mean, I still had a car registered in my name at that time. I didn't know about it. Okay, so I had this car in my name. So they convicted me of 3 counts of willful failure to file. And the IRS agent stood up in court and said, Mr. McDonald owes no income tax money. But since we have a check for $7,500 here. If he will sign these 3 income tax returns, we'll give him $7,500 and we'll drop all charges. I said, I don't want your money. I will not sign any government form. To this day, I will not sign any government
Their
form.
money or your money?
It was my money, but I want them to give me back, but I'm not going to sign for it. They took it without my permission. They're going to give it back to me without my
Were
signature.
you subject to that?
Nope, but I wasn't going to sign that form.
Is that an indirect tax?
I don't know. I don't care about it. I don't study and I don't anything about the Internal Revenue Code. I washed it all out of my mind. I only study states' rights and state citizenship. Yes.
Is your name on that check spelled out in all uppercase letters?
I don't know. I didn't even look at it. And even the judge said, Mr. McDonald's not a criminal. He just don't want his money. But they insisted on putting me in jail for a year. So I took a vacation. I had a lot of good times. So I taught, I was at the Lompoc Country Club, and I taught 658 prison inmates how to become state citizens. I had meetings all the time. I had a good job. I used to water grass. I had a little plot of ground about this big. I had to mow and keep water. And I planted flowers around, and I stood out there with my water hose and mowed the grass and my law books, and everybody come by, ask me questions. I would teach them citizenship as I was mowing the lawn. I did that for 9 months. I was a good boy. Hey, I could care less. I can go back. Eventually, when we get this nation straightened out, I'll go back and get that reversed, and then I will sue them for false imprisonment. But I ain't worried about it. But see, I could do that right now. But then I would not be able to do what I'm doing. Couldn't become politically active. I couldn't be teaching you people the law. I couldn't be educating you. And that's my prime thing. I was trying to do it as a one-man thing. And you can't do things as a one-man thing. It takes all of us together. No man is an island. You have me? So I have to have everybody, and I'd rather deprive myself and teach 1 million people doing what I'm doing. That's why I travel all over the nation teaching citizenship and working with attorneys and judges, educating them in what we're doing. Because what we're doing now, I will never reap the benefits of it. Your children and your grandchildren were the ones that are going to be walking around with their head held up high and proclaiming they're free, sovereign citizens. That's what it's going to be all about. Not today, not tomorrow, but in a few years. It's not something that's done overnight. They took 50 years to put this in effect, and it won't take us 50 years, it may take us 5 or 10 years. But we're growing by leaps and bounds, especially since we've been affiliated with the Constitution Party. I feel that it's one of the strongest moves I've ever made, to be affiliated with an ongoing political party. They're adopting my platform. And I will be putting out state rights and state citizenship throughout the nation on the Constitutional Party platform. This is what's going to get us back. And this is what's going to make us free again. As I said before, I can't do it by myself. It takes all of us. Each little thing you do helps us. You know what I mean? You talk to a friend, go talk to another friend, go talk to another, go talk to the local cop, go talk to your local county commissioner. We've had county commissioners come down from several counties down here and attend my monthly meetings, come up and sleep on my front room floor. I won't let them sleep on the couch because they're elected officials. They have to sleep on the floor. And they come up there to learn. They want to know the law. And that's what I do, is I teach them the law. And I make them go back to their counties and pass the laws that will affect our citizens to support what they're doing. I had one county commissioner tell me about his problem he had with the federal government. Now don't smile when you listen to this thing, because this is very honest. He's telling me that the federal government came to him and says, we want you to update your police department. These are what we want you to do. He says, find out how much it's going to cost. So he did that. He said it cost like $9 million. He says, well, we're going to give you $2 million up front, and once you get it completely installed, you borrow the money, the other $7 million, install it, then once you get it completely installed, we will give you the other $7 million. So the county went out and borrowed the money, installed updated radio system and computer system for the police department. Then they went to the federal government and says, hey, we want our $7 million so we pay off our debt. The federal government says, no, we're not going to give it to you. But if you do this over here, we'll give you part of that, and we'll give you part of that. They refuse to give them the money. So they keep getting that. Now they owe $47 million in loans and still can't try to get their money out of the federal government. That's one county. Very clever. You know what I mean, what they're doing. So, California. I'm not going to say the county here. So he was, 2 months ago, he was at our monthly meeting. Remember when Senator Don Rogers was here? He was down with Senator Don Rogers. And he's very, very unhappy with the federal government. Because they keep dangling the carrot. Well, if you do this, you know what I mean, we'll give you a little bit more. Now you got to do this over here and spend some more money, go borrow some more money. They won't give you a little bit over here. They won't give you a little bit over here, you know what I mean? And they just go deeper and deeper and deeper in debt.
Why don't you use those taxes?
Because they want to keep the counties broke, so the counties will raise the taxes on people, so they have to give up. You know what I mean? They keep everybody poor. Control.